Hey everybody, welcome to the daily update for Friday, March 6, 2026. Happy Friday. Pretty ready to put this week to bed. It's funny as I think about this week, it feels like an exhausting week. It feels like a bad week, and technically it was. But if I think back on what I did this week, it actually wasn't that bad of a week. Came in on Monday, closed out the Devon and Oxy calls that we've had for about 6 weeks. That was a really nice profit. Um, I, I've played IGV the last 3 weeks. The first week I broke even. Last week I lost the whole premium and options. This week I'm more than made up for that. So that was profitable. Spent most of this week and a little bit of last week cleaning up and closing puts that I've sold over the past month or so. Pretty much all of them for 75% or more profit. Puts on Poet, puts on ONDS, puts on Oscar, puts on Path. So cleaned almost all those up. I played AVGO earnings, lost just a little bit, flesh wound, and I did something stupid on Friday. I tried to do some zero DTE puts on USL. Lost a little bit. First time I've ever done zero DTE. Probably the last time. Somebody in the who is it in the I should always give credit for these things. Someone in the trading room said it was Retman who said the zero in DTE options usually means the amount of profit you get, zero. So I would agree with that. So all in all, it was really actually a pretty good week for me, but it feels so ugly. It's like one of those weeks like you want to get in the shower with a wire brush and just scrub yourself down. We're in a really precarious spot again, once again. So let's go through and take a look at where we are at. Let's get Muse out of here. Well, first of all, let's take a look at the weeklies. This is what we do on Fridays. So for the first time since November of last year, we are falling out or have fallen out of this range, this tight range that we were in on the SPX. Lost the 21 for the first time since, my goodness, we haven't been below the 21 since April of last year. If we look at the Qs, so here's what the Qs did. The Qs dropped out on the week of the 9th, rallied back up, couldn't get back into this range on a closing basis, and they're now coming back down. That's that kiss the bottom of the trend line or kiss the bottom of the range. If we look at IWM, this is where real ugly action came into play. 4% down, breaking out of this range, losing the 8 period, losing the 21 period, and breaking below that support, that breakout support. Finally, the Dow, which looked horrible as well, down 3%, losing the 8 period, losing the 21 period, and breaking back below here. So that's not good. Let's go to the dailies here. So if we look at the dailies, I've said that this range is what I'd like to play off of. If we can close above and hold above here, we're probably going back to all-time highs. If we close below here and hold below here, we're probably going back to the 200-day. So we're 1 day below it. We could just rock it right back up on Monday, and that's generally what's happened when we're down in this area. Are we going to get a stick save again? I don't know. Hard to say. This is the lowest we've been since December 17th. The worst thing we could have would be just a little weak rally back up into this area and then roll over. I would think that a gap down on Monday might get bought up. But either way, we are, I've been talking about us being on like a 5-4 on a risk off, unless you're like an active day trader. You can see that the daily setups list has been very bare. It's only been really snapback trades, of which most of the snapback trades have really followed through and given an opportunity to make some profit, including Palantir today. But we've seen this, despite the fact that the market's been chop for a couple months, we've seen a deterioration, I would say, in the last 2 weeks. We've seen it on the lack of good setups, the dearth of names that are on the list, and just the shitty action in the market. Sorry. So let's go back here. We'll do the NASDAQ last. So really falling apart here, IWM. Really falling apart. And it looks so good at the beginning of the week. On Monday, it looks so fantastic. So what have we done here? We've lost this support level. We've lost the 50. And also remember, we came down here. We tried to get back above and failed. Like when you do that twice, that's even worse when you finally resolve it. So we're back below the 20, all the moving averages except for the 200. Now what do I have to start doing? I actually have to start putting support levels down in here, if you can believe that, which is crazy. We go to the Dow, same thing on the Dow. I mean, did get a little bit of buying today, but yesterday was really the breakdown day. We almost got down to the 200 here, and I don't even know where we'd find support. I mean, I guess there's a little bit like here, maybe some gap support. Well, that's actually where we filled, isn't it? What do you know? It's almost like market has memory. Right, that little gap right there. So let's go back to the Qs. Are we looking for green shoots? Do we want some green shoots? Here's the only green shoots I can find. Relatively speaking, the Qs are doing better. And what I mean by that is if you take a look, actually, why don't I have the performance metrics? Bottom center. Okay. And why don't I have them on all of them? I have them on one. Interesting. Let's pause for a second here. Okay, that's much better. So we've got year to date, the Q's down 2.2, SPX 1.7, Dow 1.8. Can that be right? Are we actually positive year to date on IW? Well, yeah, because the IWM sucked, right, coming into this year. Yeah, because I guess we're positive. So you're going to say, well, wait a minute, Brian. What are you talking about? Why do we have good relative strength in the Qs? Right? Qs are down the most. Well, here's why. Because this, if I'm keying off of this range, right, the low of that day right here, the 17th, we're still at that range, right? We're also above the low of this recent range here, okay? Whereas if we look at the other names here, you know, we're right down near this. We're out of this recent range on the SPX. We're definitely below it on IWM, out of this range. We didn't draw a range there, but you know what I mean. That's the last, 10 trading days. Same thing here, right? So if you look at where we are, relatively speaking, in terms of the patterns, the Qs are holding up marginally better. Now, all that means one of two things. Either Qs are just last to go, or because they sold off first, you know, maybe they already got their selling in. And if that's the case, that means we could be snapping back. But it's something to watch, right? It's something to watch. The Qs are a little bit better. Either the rest of the market's going to pull them down, or the market's going to stabilize here, and Qs maybe are going to start picking back up. I don't know. I think we're looking at one name here. At least I looked at it before. I mean, Microsoft could be bottoming here. So maybe we're going to see some of those names. I don't know. I'm trying to give you some green shoots here because there ain't a whole lot. All right, the VIX. This is so problematic here. So let's just take a look at this. This is why I was so annoyed that we couldn't break this rising. So we are at the highest spot on the VIX since the highest close on the VIX since April 3rd of last year. So almost a year. And we've seen all these times when the VIX has got smacked down, and today it closed at the exact, pretty much the high of the day. So what could we see on Monday? Here's what we could see on Monday. We could see a big gap down, right? Which would correspond with a spike up here. And everyone will freak out and Twitter's going to go crazy. It sounds crazy, but that would probably be the time to buy, or at least some long-term positions. I'd probably be selling some puts against some names lower on that. I'd look for intraday basis for a reversal. It's going to feel like Armageddon, but that's how these things work. Usually if you get a spike like that in the VIX, it's a reasonable time to sell, or sorry, to buy. Sell the VIX, buy everything else. TLT. All right. Back down to this support level. We're going to see if it's going to bounce a little bit, maybe up into the 200, the 50, and then roll over, or if it just keeps going. Dixie. I mean, we saw this, right? We saw this recovery, this big push up here, which shouldn't be good for stocks, and it hasn't been. We keep trying to knock on the door up here, hit resistance every time, but this is pretty tight, pretty good consolidation below the 200. I would imagine this thing would spike if the market breaks down on Monday. XLV, this has been very disappointing. I mean, I guess the only good thing is this buyer stepped in a little bit here. Again, this looks so good on Friday of last week. Bitcoin failure. Not complete, but pretty much. And we've talked about this before, right? Here's the push, consolidation, fail, push, consolidation, fail, push, consolidation, fail. Looked like we were going to make it this time, but the 50 just rejected it right there, literally to the penny, 50 and that resistance. So it's going to be an interesting weekend for crypto people. Let's see. All right, IGV. Oddly enough, closed the week very positive. What do we get on the week on this thing? I wish I had held it one extra day. So up 8%. And here's the thing, this doesn't look like a dead cat bounce. Right? This looks like we didn't get some spiky move. It looks like a fairly consistent move here. Also, there's a few names here, like look at Path, which finished today green. Both yesterday and today it was green. So some of these names, maybe there's some buying coming back into this area. XHB, ugly. I mean, this is such an epic failure here. Whew. SMH looking really bad here. I mean, let's see, where would we draw that? So, might as well draw it at the low. There's the close. So you could say there's the lowest close in this range. There's the lowest intraday. So this is an area where maybe there'd be some support, but very toppy looking there. XBI, surprisingly hanging in there a little bit. This has been the problem all along. This is why I thought we weren't going to get back to all-time highs as long as this thing was tanking. And look, it's trying to bottom. Where's the lowest close in this range here? Lowest close is today. All right, that's the lowest close. Trying to prove that the bottom is in after chopping like this. This thing needs a massive up day. Carry, same thing, right? Big gap down, some buying coming in off the 200. It needs a big counter trend rally. Oil, look at that. Oh my goodness. Right. It's really weird though. Oil's like this, but look at some of these names like Devon, lower than it was on Monday when we came in. Oxy, what else? Bolero, that's probably, yeah. So a lot of these things are lower. Look at this OIA. I guess we're going to look at it in a second. Why do I even have to type it in? XLE, lower than when we came in on Monday. And OIH, much lower. So, it feels like this is a blow off. But it didn't work for my 0DTEs today. Gold. All right, I think we can get this thing out of here now. And probably get this. So we kind of have a little bit of a channel here. Kind of, not really. Gold miners back down to the 50 after that big break. Man, don't you love volatility? When people tell you, oh, traders love volatility. Really? TAN continuing to go lower here. MSOS on green today. I actually bought some $5 calls for next Friday because I'm a masochist. If we go over to the red list, so there's a lot of, let's see if they held up here. Netflix doesn't look so bad. It just needs a little pullback, needs a little rest. Microsoft looks like it could be ready to go here. Apple, you want to try a reversal trade here on Apple. Toll, want to try a reversal trade here. AXP, reversal trade here. WFC, same thing. not NVIDIA, not. So look, let's move all these over. They're not ideal. What was on the list today? CMG. So much for that inverted head and shoulders. Bye-bye. Kava lava. Actually, not so bad. Didn't trigger, but not so bad on that reversal there. Stays on the list. So we're back to Snapback City. Microsoft, ideally, an inside bar here would be great, but it could just go. Here's what I would think. Maybe we get a gap down, so you're going to watch for Microsoft to go like this and then watch for an intraday base. That's what I would think. Probably the same thing on all these because one of two things is going to happen. Either we're going to gap up and these are just going to go and you're going to it's going to be tough to get involved, or we're going to get a flush in the morning and then a reversal. Not great setups. And what's been on the list here? What is on the list? Bros, goodbye. That sucks. Amazon. I mean, still technically active. TTD, definitely technically active. Cisco, goodbye. PayPal. Wow, PayPal looks great there. That goes over the green list, if you can believe that. DraftKings, surprisingly good there, and also probably goes over to the green list. Interesting. And then Palantir continues. What a great trade. Again, one trade. That's all you need. Doesn't matter what the rest of the market's doing. If you had this trade and had it in some decent size, you're good. So anyway, tough market. Hey, have a great weekend. Don't let the market get you down. If you're not leveraged, if you're not using margin, if you got plenty of cash, if your time frame is longer than a couple days or a couple months, it's all going to be fine. You just don't want to get yourself in a position where the market makes decisions for you. And I think none of us are in that position, and that's nice. So enjoy your weekend, enjoy your family, enjoy life, and I will see you on Monday.